Game one, mid-December, an 18-point loss for the Mavericks. Luka drops 39, but they get out-rebounded by 11 on the glass by Minnesota. 2 weeks later, an 18-point loss again for the Mavericks. Ant drops 44, but no Luka, no Kyrie. Game three, early January, the Mavs get one. They win by 7, despite Ant with 36 because Luka has 34, Kyrie has 35. They get out-rebounded by 7 as a team, but those two big performances carry them to the win nonetheless. And then January 31st, no Luka, no Kyrie again. Cat 29 in just 31 minutes. Anthony Edwards just 9 points in only 30 minutes. Why? Because they crushed them, beat them by 34, and out-rebounded them by more than a dozen again. That's where I look at this, Joe. We've talked about it plenty in the first couple of rounds. Rebounding. Can Gafford help make up what they didn't have in those regular season games on the glass down low against Cat, against Gobert, against Naz Reid?
Yeah, for sure. One thing that comes to mind, obviously, Luka's health, and that's been a big story throughout the playoffs. And now they get some extra rest. Is that going to help Luka early on in this series? You know, probably later on, there's going to be some games where you're like, yeah, he clearly does not look 100%, dealing with multiple injuries, a right knee and a left ankle. Doesn't appear that Kleber's going to be ready for this series, but that's going to be interesting early on in the series. Does it end up helping Luka? And then maybe it helps Dallas a little bit. You know, they're still looking for that split in these first couple of games, but that is certainly interesting. And with the adjustment of a Minnesota defense, like you're seeing it in the player props market, and you should see it with a lowish total, even though it is all over the place. Did you notice that, Chris, that the total is kind of sportsbook to sportsbook? I've seen 206.5. I've seen 207. I've seen 208.5. Really all over the map.
There's a lot of variation. Yeah. I do think that is probably born out of just how much how much impact they think that Minnesota defense will have on things. It's worth noting, Dallas did beat OKC, another really strong defensive squad in the second round, but they only topped 105 points twice in that 6-game series. Game 6, 117. Game 2, 119. This is the best defensive team in the league, no doubt, Minnesota. And as we pointed out, the T-Wolves handled the Mavericks pretty handily in the regular season. Again, without Gafford, without Washington. One prop I have an eye on, Naz Reid, I see listed at just 9.5 points. And Gafford listed at just 8.5. I know I've mentioned both of those names already, but those are two guys I'm looking at early in this series to see how the battle down low goes.
Okay. Yeah. Reid, surprisingly well. Which Reid prop did you say that you were interested in?
Points I see listed at 9.5.
Okay. Yeah, that would certainly make some sense. What else? PJ Washington stands out because it got to a point where it was 15.5 in the middle of the last series. Now we're down to 12.5. Over 2.5 made threes is good plus money. I'm looking at Gobert, man. He was very successful throughout the season. 25.5 for his points and rebounds. Not touching Edwards. He had his blow-up games, and he had his games where he was just awful. I mean, there was one game where he missed 16 out of 19 shots. Another game he didn't hit double digits. You mentioned that because that was a blow-up, but he still played 30 minutes. So I'm really not interested there. If you're going to give flowers to someone on the Celtics, the reason they won that game was Drew Holiday. Season high in points, lockdown on defense per usual. So, I mean, if that guy's going to show up on a consistent basis in this series, it might be 4 and not 5.
Yeah, that was a nice bonus to have Holiday, Brown, and Tatum all go over 25 points. A lot of overs to talk about. Jaylen Brown, as I mentioned, hit his prop. We also had Halliburton going over in three-pointers and assists. You had Siakam over in rebounds. Lots of overs to talk about. The Miles Turner over that we mentioned yesterday, that hits in the first half, I think, if not early third quarter. This gives me the feeling that this series is going to be about lighting up the scoreboard. We'll see if it reverts back to a little bit more than neutral in game 2, but the total's already gone up a couple points, Joe. We were talking 222.5 by the time we finished the show yesterday. 224.5 this morning. The spread down a little bit to Indy getting 8.5 in game 2.
It went over by 11 in regulation, so I understand the bump up. The Celtics took a ton of threes. They took 10 more threes in this game. I don't know if that's going to continue, but I understand the total being moved up. Am I going to play the over? No. But what I expect, it wouldn't shock. I'll put it this way. It wouldn't shock me if the game 2 goes over and then maybe it creeps up even more. And that's when I would come in on the under.
Yeah.
What about your team? We're fading the state of Texas. Is that what we're doing?
We're fading the state. If San Antonio had a team, we would fade them too. Yeah, we're fading. This. I would play the Cowboys under 7.5. I think this is a tank year.
Whoa.
I think, yeah. Listen, you have to understand Jerry talk, right? So when Jerry Jones says, I'm going all in, he meant he was going all in to get Dak Prescott off this roster. I think this is a year where you see politics in Dallas. I think you will see a Mike Zimmer defense not living up to capabilities, and that's going to hinder Mike McCarthy. Dak Prescott is going to turn around and hand the ball off to Ezekiel Elliott. That's not by accident. I think this is a team that is looking to be a team that is drafting high in 2025 with the thoughts of drafting Shedeur Sanders. I think it's a $56 million one-and-done year for Dak Prescott. He'll take the blame. He'll probably end up in Las Vegas as the Raiders quarterback, and the Dallas Cowboys will draft a quarterback early in next year's draft. I think the Cowboys under 10.5 is a slam dunk.
It's about beating Scheffler like it is every weekend. Paul, are you surprised he's playing?
Kind of. Yeah. Like, is it more like, hey, like that was kind of a, outlier. Let me just get back and focused on golf. It makes sense. And it's, like kind of get rid of it, put that in the rear view, whatever just happened. And then play this and then towards the U.S. Open. But if it were me, I don't know. Like, it could go either way. I might want to just take a week off, but at the same time, you might just be sitting around and thinking about it. So,
yeah, true.
Third,
maybe because it's home.
Year.
It's at home.
Right, he's there. It's at home. So
why not? Yeah,
I guess.
I do question. Like you asked the question, what about the Texas guys? Like the greens are different here than they are most Southern courses. It putts more like a Northeast green in that they use bent grass. That's always been one of the differences here at Colonial. So I don't know if that makes it more favorable to the Texas guys, especially those who are going to try and gain strokes with the putter or not. But I mean, when we're talking about someone like Scheffler, I don't want to say you throw all course aspects out the window and all that, but to your point, Joe, it's Scheffler, right? Like, how much more do you need to say at this point?
Yeah.
Like I said, 2 top threes the last 2 appearances at the Colonial.
Anybody betting Scheffler? Let's just get that out of the way.
Which
means, Chris, are you betting Scheffler? That's the question.
It's the number.
Plus
What's the number?
Plus 450 again, I'm just going to assume.
No, plus 275 in this field.
Yikes. What?
Yeah.
Yikes. No. Well.
Oh,
yeah. Why wouldn't I? He's the favorite.
Thought we had him for a second.
I thought about it too because I saw Spieth at 22.
You're going to be on Spieth.
You're going to be on Spieth.
Yeah, I know.
Texas.
Are you an insurance at the blackjack table type guy, Chris?
No, I swear I'm not.
Right.
Yeah, no, I'll put something on Scheffler and I'll put a little something on Spieth too. I think that's the play here this weekend.